if we're not eating carbohydrates, how does that work? Is that just a natural process? Can you take us through that?
Yeah. So, I mean, we just eat more fat, basically. The great thing about the carnivore diet is it sounds too good to be true, but your body regulates itself in that your appetite is met, providing you give it the right signals. So you eat enough protein, enough fat. And I actually take a lot of my experience and actually a lot of my understanding from lots of different people. So I'm not, oh, I just listen to Sean Baker, I just listen to Barker. I listen to everyone. And Ted Naiman, I have to give him some credit where it's due. He's not a carnivore advocate per se, but he's very protein centric. And he suggests that if people get their, caloric amount, labeled food calorie amount for what it's worth, through protein, up to about 40% of that total amount, then they tend to not overeat and they tend to get better body composition outcomes. Now, I'd say that's mostly due to the nutritional side of it. So you've given your body all it needs. You don't seem to have an issue with vitamins or mineral status. That's where you get the vast majority of them from. You give your body the fat as well. So you balance out any potential blood glucose spikes you might have from the extra protein if you're eating too much. But yeah, the fat basically just gets transmuted into glucose as per requirement. It's an enzymatic process. If we look at it on a flow chart, it's very simple. It's not this stressful thing. Oh, if this hormone goes up and this goes down and this goes round here and it has to go through 10 cycles. No, if you look at it online, it's just very simple enzymatic process down from, enough fat to glucose.
Hurry this process up. They want to straight away, I've come out of the gym. I need to eat some raisins or some grape juice or some, bananas or something like that, high glycemic, because they we need to speed this process up. The body pretty much takes care of it, knows what it's doing. That's kind of, you're getting in the way, perhaps.
Yeah, I think the only argument to be had for someone having a fast as food source, so for example, they might chase down some single cream, I don't know, because liquids digest a bit quicker. They might have some MCT oil that'll turn into, ketone bodies very quickly. Beta hydroxybutyrate supplementation, that's the only instance where I'd say, yes, you can benefit from that, as in you're training 2 or 3 times per day because that's what your training requires for your given sport. And if you're training once per day, no issue. Anabolic signaling, protein synthesis lasts for about 24 to maybe 36 hours, or at least it peaks for that long. So as long as you're eating in a given day, you're not going to have an issue. And I personally, eat 3 to 4 times per day. I tend to eat about 2 hours after I train, just based on my appetite. And if you follow your appetite, it's your body saying, I'm ready for this now. Now, if you've just had a stressful workout, your blood glucose is elevated because it's trying to churn out energy to, do the stuff or work that you need to do in the gym, then you'll find that you won't get hungry for a few hours because your body's in that state already, high cortisol, stress hormone. Now, as the stress hormone starts to go down, you're more relaxed, you're in a rest and digest state. So that's when your appetite might then start to go up. So there's no bulletproof formula for eating, but if someone is absolutely hungry after the gym, then yeah, have a meal. But I generally find that people tend to not be absolutely starving on this diet,
It's almost like a false behavior. It's learnt behavior. We see other people doing it. We get the shakes in sometimes during the workout, right after, and then we're timing it an hour later. I need to eat my chicken, broccoli and rice and all this kind of stuff. You pretty much read my mind because I was going to ask you about protein synthesis and meal frequency. But you're saying protein synthesis can be activated for up to 36 hours, did you say?
Yes, it tends to peak around then, but it can last maybe 3 days, something like that.
Oh, right. Okay. So again, because a lot of people will say, well, you're not going to absorb all the protein if you're eating 1 meal a day, but that's just not true. We're going to benefit from that protein over a long period of time.
Yeah, what the most important factor is just to get the protein in over the course of the day. So if someone is looking at their training performance, their body composition, saying things aren't improving, I'm feeling weaker in the gym, I'm tired when I get up, I'm not resting at night, a stressed out body that's not recovered. Yeah, you're probably not giving enough food, you're not resting enough, you're probably staring at artificial lights for too long, at night especially, in which case, yeah, you need to change something. But if someone's getting all their protein in one day, even if it's in one meal, I'd say it gives you 95% of results. If that impacts your recovery, your sleep, your digestion, yeah, maybe don't do that. Don't do something your body doesn't want you to do. So I'd say, okay, then split it up a bit. Sean Baker, by his own confession, eats 2 meals per day on average. 1 big meal, one usually slightly smaller meal, might be steak meal 1, eggs meal 2. He'll eat a massive meal. He's a big guy. He's like 6'5", 6'6". So, he can do it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. How about supplements? Like, do you recommend anyone takes any supplements, or are we pretty much good to go with red meat, eggs? If you're eating high quality foods like that, you're eating butter, you're eating to satiety, you're getting enough fats, you're getting enough proteins. Is there anything that you feel like we may be falling short of that may be of some benefit?
That's a good question. And yeah, the usual approach would be, eat meat to your full, eat the fat that comes with it, have salt, drink water, that sort of thing. I'd say largely speaking, people tend to have some issue if they do that, in that it doesn't account for the nutritional requirements that we seem to have based on our epigenetic spectrum. So what did our forefathers eat? Were they in a hunter-gatherer tribe? Were they black? Were they white? Were they from an area which had lots of rivers, lots of seas? Did they have a lot of access to fish? Now, it's going to impair your requirements to some degree. Now, yes, you can survive on a meat, beef or lamb only diet. A lot of people seem to do it. I'd say only 3 people I've met in the past year and a half, roughly, actually do that. So it tells me it's not an absolute requirement to just eat meat. Then you can add in the extra additional animal foods as you see fit. But in terms of the supplementation, I think they can be useful, especially when someone's transitioning. If I give someone a guidance to transition over 4 to 8 weeks, I swap out 1 meal for a week, meal 2 for a week, meal 3 for a week, they don't tend to do it, in which case supplements become more useful because they help bandage up that patch that they're not fixing because they aren't doing it the right way. So your body is like a machine. You've got to make fine adjustments, like, use a spanner, twist bolts the right way, get it at the right setting. And it's not going to happen overnight. Your gut microbiome greatly affects your mood, mental disposition, physical health, sleep, all sorts of things. Your hunger signaling. And if you change your diet overnight, you won't experience a benefit because, quite frankly, something will go wrong. Generally speaking, this is true. In that instance, if someone wants to rush things, I'd recommend something like magnesium citrate or maybe magnesium glycinate, pure as possible. If you can get it in a capsule, even better. Just pour the capsule out in a bottle or a cup of water. Other things, taurine. If someone tends to overcook their meat or uses low quality processed meat, perhaps taurine's even more useful. It's a very underrated supplement. There's lots of benefits to it. It seems to be involved in many different processes in the body, and I'd say it's not talked about enough. And I've met a lot of people that have experienced the benefit, and I'd say about half people I consult with or work with in a coaching setting seem to benefit from that. Now, there's a few others, a bit hit and miss. It depends who you are, what stage and age and gender you're at. But that's largely it. Vitamin D can be useful. I prefer people to go outside and get some sunlight, but if it's not possible, I work with a lot of paramedics, people in crisis work that have funny shift patterns, nurses, people like that. So, well, for them, yeah, maybe something like melatonin could be useful, perhaps. Vitamin D supplementation if they don't get outside. So it's very much a case-by-case basis, but I'd say largely people I speak to do use supplement, but they'll use it for periods of time, like a cycle it in when they find it useful and stop when they don't.
Build muscle and lose fat on the carnivore diet.